Hello, in this video, we're going to be looking at lesson 10.2 on orthographic drawings. The essential question for this lesson is how are orthographic drawings used to represent 3D objects? An orthographic drawing is a drawing of a 3D figure that shows 6 different views of an object. And those views are the top, bottom, front, back, left, and right. On the next page in your note packet, where it says additional examples, things to remember, and tips, please add the following information. Solid or bold lines are always used on the outline of an orthographic view. So if I grab my black pen here and outline these to make them bold, all of the outlines of the figures will always be solid or bolded lines. You'll also use solid or bolded lines to indicate changes in depth. So blocks that are at different depths will be having bold or solid lines. So in my picture here, if I imagine like the bottom view, if I'm here looking up, all 4 of those are at the same level. So the bottom, I don't need any like bolded lines in the middle. Whereas the top view, you have this block right here that's at a different depth. So I need to outline that block with bolded lines. For the front, everything's at the same level, and the back, everything's at the same level. But if we move over to the left, on the left, you're gonna see this block here, and then this block is further back, different levels. We need to separate those with solid lines. Same thing on the right view. You're gonna see this block here, and then this block that's further back. Dotted or thin lines are used to separate blocks of the same depth. So the front of my figure, if I'm looking at it straight on, all 5 of these blocks are at the same depth. So I'm separating them by thin or dotted lines. Usually when we draw them ourselves, we use solid and dotted lines, but sometimes when you see pictures printed in different illustrations of figures, maybe like the directions for something that you're building, you might notice solid and bolded lines to indicate changes in depth. So let's try an example. It really does help if you take linking cubes like we did in class and you actually build the object so that you can truly visualize it from each of the 6 different perspectives. The front of the figure is always going to be the way that it's oriented. So if you look here, assuming there are no hidden cubes, so there's no cubes behind there I cannot see, notice that it's 3 blocks across. So if I'm going to do the outline, I'm going to have like 3 blocks across, and then it's like 3 blocks high, so I kind of get this T shape. Notice that this front block is at a different depth, so I need to outline that in a solid or bolded line. These 2 here are at the same depth, so you can use like a dash line to separate those 2 blocks like that. If you move to the back, so imagine that you are standing behind the figure and looking on in, you're still gonna see that same T shape. But now all of the blocks are at the same level. These would be hidden. If you're behind the figure, you're just gonna see the ones that are out in the open. So all of them are at the same depth, so I'm gonna separate my individual blocks by dotted lines. Now let's check out the left and right views. I'm actually gonna start with the right view because I can see that better in my picture. Notice that in the right view, it is 1, 2, 3 blocks across. And then it's also 1, 2, 3 blocks high. So I get that L shape. So my outline is always bolded. And then to separate blocks of different depths, you use your solid line. So because this brick right here, the yellow one, is sticking out at a different depth, I need a solid line around that one. But then these 2, the blue and the green one, are at the same depth, so they can be separated by a dotted line. Same thing up here with these 2 blocks, the blue and the red one, same depth, so I'm going to separate them with dotted lines. Now imagine that you go to the left view. On the left view, you're just going to like stand over here and look at it. you'll notice a pattern that in the orthographic views, like left and right are always mirror images of each other for the outline. And then in this case, this pinkish color block is poking out. That's at a different depth, but all the other blocks are at the same depth, so I'm separating those with dotted lines. Now let's do the top view. For the top view, imagine that you're like flying in an airplane looking down at this shape. If you look down at the shape, you'll notice that it's still 3 across. So I have kind of this T shape going on again. And that middle block there is definitely at a different depth, so I need to outline that in my solid line. And then of these 2 blocks, the blue one and the green one, those are at the same depth, so I can separate those with dotted lines. For the bottom view, imagine that you are below the figure looking up. Now, depending on where you put your head, it might be flipped or it might not be flipped. Personally, for me, I would imagine like for the bottom view that I am underneath the object and here's my head and I'm looking up. So if my head's there, the top of the T is going to be up. And then the bottom of the T is going to be like that, so it's still the mirror image. But all the blocks there are at the same level, so we can separate all of them by dotted lines. Sometimes the bottom won't be flipped, so just kind of depends on how you interpret the drawing. So it would also be fine if you kept it the same direction. You'll notice on some of the problems where the orthographic figure is already drawn for you, sometimes they flip the bottom, sometimes they don't. It all just depends on how you interpret it. Are you gonna lay with your head facing this way, or are you gonna lay with your head toward the back and facing the front? This one is where my head's in the back. This one is where my head's in the front. Again, it also definitely really helps if you actually take the linking cubes that we have available in class and you build the figure so that you can turn it and look at it from all its different perspectives. Let's try another one. I'm going to always start with the front view. The front view is the way that it's facing right now. Notice that it is 3 blocks across, 2 high on this side and 3 high on that side. So we kind of have a shape like this for the outline. And then this blue block is at a different depth, so that needs to be outlined in solid lines. But the yellow and the pink one right here are at the same depth, so I can use a dotted line. Similarly, all 3 of these blocks, the red, yellow, and green, are at the same depth, so they can be separated by the dashed or dotted lines. Imagine that we move behind the figure now, and when you move behind the figure, it's going to be just the other direction. So we're going to see a mirror image, because now if I'm standing back here and looking ahead, now the tall side is going to be on the left, and the shorter side will be on the right. So it's a mirror image of the front view, and all of the blocks there are at the same level, so we can separate them all with the dashed lines. Like that. So now I've finished the front and the back. Let's do the left and the right. Again, I'm going to start with the right just because that side is more visible in my picture. You can see that it's like an L shape, 3 tall and then 2 across. So something like this. And then let's look at the depths and notice that all 4 of the blocks are at the same depth. So we can separate the individual blocks with dashed lines. When we move over to the right side, so imagine, or the left side, excuse me, if you're standing over here, you're still going to see that L shape where it's 3 tall and 2 this way, but it is the mirror image. And notice that these 2 blocks right here are at the same level, and then that pink block here is like at a different depth, further back. So my top block needs to be outlined solid, but these 2, which are the red block and the green or yellow block, so here's the red one, here's the yellow one, those are at the same depth, so I can separate them with dotted lines. This blue block right here is actually at a different depth here, so I would want that to be a solid line as well. So that's my blue block right there. Finally, we have our top and bottom views. For the top, imagine that you are up here looking down. And for that, you can see that it is 3 blocks across. And then it's 2 this way, so I get my L shape. And these are all at different levels. 2 tall, 1 tall, 3 tall. So I need to separate these all by solid lines. Let me actually move this a little bit over to make that more even. So those are all at different depths. And then this block here, the blue block is at a different depth. So I guess that is going to be solid as well. When we move to the bottom view, you're looking up at the object. And when you do that, it's still going to be that L shape. If my head is right here and I'm looking up, this is now going to be on my right side. And then it's going to head this way. So there's our outline. Let's make this line go away here. And then let's look at solid versus dash from the bottom. Now at the bottom, all of my bricks, all of my blocks are at the same level. They're all at the same depth. So these can all be separated by the dash lines like that. And that is now the 6 orthographic views of the figure in the picture. In the classroom, you'll have access to the linking cubes so that you can build the figure and then turn it to see its 6 different views. For our final example of lesson 10.2, we're going to look at how to identify orthographic drawings. Notice that in this example, my 3-dimensional figure is given, as well as the 6 different orthographic views, and we want to determine whether the drawings correctly represent the object on the left, assuming there are no hidden cubes. In order to see that this is the correct orthographic drawing, we need to check all of the views. So I'm going to start with the top. So the top is like I'm up here and I'm looking down at the object. Notice that you'd have like all of these pieces here, and they're all at the same level, so no solid lines. So the top looks good. The bottom is going to look just like the top. It's flat, it's a T shape. When we go to the left side, so imagine you are over here. So the left side is like you are standing over here, looking over. Now again, it's okay if you want to build this with the connecting cubes that we have, you could do that. But one thing you'll notice on both the left and the right views is that they are only 2 blocks across. So the right view should only be 2 blocks, and the blocks are at different depths, and the left view is the same. So these 2 are not correct. Okay, the correct views for left and right are given right there in my blue pen. So they made them too wide. The front and the back look fine. Notice that on the front cube, this cube's at a different depth, so it's outlined in solid lines. Whereas in the back, if I stand here and I look forward, all of my cubes are going to be aligned. So that's good as well. But because the left and the right views are correct, determine whether the drawings represent the object on the left. No. And the reason is the left and right orthographic views are incorrect. In order for it to represent the object, all 6 views must be drawn correctly. Here's one more example. Feel free to pause this one and try it on your own. Determine whether the drawing correctly represents the object on the left, again, assuming there are no hidden cubes. Please pause your video now and check each of the 6 views. After checking through all 6 different views of this figure on the left, you should have found that all of the views are correct. Each view matches that figure on the left, so because all 6 views are correct, this orthographic drawing does indeed represent the object on the left. This concludes lesson 10.2. Good luck as you practice some more orthographic drawings.